The Xylar Dominion was an empire built on fear. For centuries they had spread across the galaxy, conquering world after world with cold precision. Their ships were sharp and angular, like blades of metal cutting through the stars. Their armies were ruthless, and their leaders believed themselves untouchable. They thought no species could resist them, for they had perfected the art of domination. The Dominion's greatest weapon was not its cannons or fleets, but its scanners. With one burst of energy, they could peel apart an enemy ship as if stripping flesh from bone. These scanners revealed everything: codes, weapons, defenses, even secret communications. No fleet had ever survived once the Xylar scanned them. They were the hunters of the stars, and the rest of the galaxy lived in fear of their gaze. On a quiet stretch of space far from any busy trade routes, a Xylar patrol ship glided silently. Its crew of scaled warriors lounged in confidence, for they expected nothing but routine scans of wandering traders. The commander of the patrol, a tall figure with black scales and cruel golden eyes, watched the stars with boredom. Then, something unusual appeared on the edge of their sensors. Lone vessel. It was dark, almost blending with the void itself. Its shape was unfamiliar, smooth where Xylar ships were sharp, silent where most vessels gave off bright signals. It drifted without communication, like a ghost ship waiting to be discovered. The commander leaned forward, intrigued. "What is that?" he asked. One of his officers replied quickly. "Unregistered design, unknown markings, small but dense in mass." The commander's lips curled into a smile. Dense means strong armor. Perhaps these are warriors. Perhaps this is one of the humans' creations. At the mention of humans, the crew shifted uneasily. The Xylar had heard whispers about them, stories of resilience, of battles fought with fire and desperation. But those were only stories, told by frightened merchants. The Dominion had never faced humans directly, and the commander did not believe in rumors. To him, humans were nothing more than another species waiting to be broken. "Lock the scanners," the commander ordered. "We will peel it apart. Every secret will be ours." His crew obeyed without hesitation. Across the Xylar ship, power hummed as energy built up. Their scanning array turned toward the silent vessel. A pulse of green light burst forward, invisible to the naked eye but strong enough to strip the unknown ship bare. Inside the Xylar bridge, screens came alive with streaming data. The crew leaned forward eagerly, expecting codes, designs, and weaknesses to pour in, but what they saw instead was nothing. The readings were unstable, lines of data breaking apart as if something resisted them. The ship's systems flickered. Alarms began to chime softly, then louder. The crew frowned in confusion. The commander growled, slamming his clawed hand against the console. "Again," he ordered. "Push harder. Break through its defenses." The scanners pulsed again, stronger this time. Energy lashed out like a whip, forcing its way into the silent ship. For a brief moment, the Xylar saw shadows of something. Systems too complex, structures too advanced. But before they could process the information, the feed collapsed. Suddenly, the Xylar crew felt a strange sensation, one no machine could explain. Their vision blurred, their ears rang, and a pressure filled the air like an invisible storm pressing against their skulls. One officer gasped, clutching his head. "Commander, it's pushing back." The commander froze. That was impossible. No ship had ever pushed back against a Xylar scan. No species had dared. Yet here, in the silence of space, the unknown vessel stirred. Lights flickered along its hull, small at first, like sparks in the darkness. Then brighter, glowing in lines and patterns, until the entire ship seemed alive. The Xylar realized, too late, that the vessel was no ghost ship. It was waking. The commander's smile faltered. For the first time in his long career, he felt something alien in his chest. Something he had never allowed himself to feel. Fear. And with a low, rumbling voice that echoed not from speakers but from inside their minds, the Xylar crew heard words that froze their blood. "You should not have touched me." The Xylar Dominion's scanner pulse had not simply entered the strange ship, it had stirred something inside it. For centuries, the vessel had drifted silent, its true nature hidden beneath layers of shielding and dormant systems. To the casual eye, it was just a dark warship sleeping and forgotten. But the Xylar's arrogance, their attempt to rip its secrets away, had been the spark that touched its heart. Deep within the human ship, systems long at rest flickered to life. First came the hum of ancient engines, then the glow of inner circuits, tracing across its steel bones like veins filled with fire. Buried deep at the center of the vessel was not just machinery, it was something more. A presence. A mind. A guardian built by humanity not to fight ordinary battles, but to awaken only when threatened by the most dangerous enemies. The presence stirred. It remembered fragments, voices of human engineers, the vows of commanders who had sworn never to let humanity fall again. It remembered the wars of Earth, the endless struggle for survival, and the desperate promise, "We will build ships that do not die, ships that carry our will when we cannot." The Xylar could not see all this, but they felt it. Their scanners had linked them, and the moment the warship opened its eyes, the Dominion ship shook violently. Lights flickered across their bridge, consoles sparked, and an unnatural pressure filled the air. "Commander!" one officer shouted, panic in his voice. "The scan, it's not breaking in. It's..." The words cut off as a deep resonant sound echoed in their minds. Not through speakers, not through translation devices. It came directly into their thoughts, cold and heavy. "You have touched what you do not understand." The crew froze. Some clutched their heads, others screamed as their own memories flickered before their eyes. Visions not of their choosing, but stolen and mirrored back by the warship. One soldier collapsed, whispering to himself, It's inside my head." The commander bared his teeth. He had fought many battles, seen worlds burn, yet never had a ship spoken to him. Ships were steel and fire, not voices, and thought. He tried to steady himself. "It's a trick," he growled, more to himself than to anyone else. "Just data. Interference. Shut it out." But the interference only grew stronger. On the Xylar bridge, screens filled with unreadable symbols. Codes danced faster than the Dominion systems could process. Entire memory banks were being rewritten in seconds. What had started as a scan from Xylar to human had reversed. Now the warship was scanning them. "Impossible," one officer cried. "Commander, it's tearing through our defenses. It knows our weapons, our engines, everything." And then came the worst realization. It knows us. The commander's blood ran cold. He turned to see his crew trembling, their private thoughts flashing across their own consoles. Secrets they had never spoken aloud. Childhood fears, personal shames, their ambitions and betrayals, all displayed for their commander, for their shipmates, for the alien presence watching them. The human warship systems pulsed brighter, as though amused by their resistance. Its hull shimmered with patterns of light, like veins glowing beneath dark skin. The Xylar vessel, in comparison, looked suddenly fragile. Predator turned prey in the span of heartbeats. The commander forced himself to stand tall, though every instinct screamed at him to run. His voice shook as he shouted, "Enough! I am Commander Jalek of the Xylar Dominion. Release us at once." The voice came again, colder, deeper. "You reached for my secrets. Now I hold yours. This was your choice." The crew fell silent. No one dared to move. They had gone from confident hunters to trembling animals in a cage, and for the first time in living memory, the Xylar Dominion knew what it meant to be powerless. The unknown warship, this human creation, was awake, and it was watching them. The Xylar Dominion had always believed themselves untouchable. They were the hunters, the predators of the galaxy. Every encounter ended the same way. Their scanners tore ships apart, their weapons finished the job, and survivors were dragged away in chains. Fear was their weapon, and they had mastered it. But, now standing on their own bridge, surrounded by their own technology, the Xylar felt something they had never imagined possible. They felt fear. The human warship did not move like other ships. It did not fire, did not rush to attack. Instead, it simply watched. Its glowing veins of light pulsed slowly, like the heartbeat of some ancient beast. The silence was worse than any battle because the Xylar crew knew something unseen was happening. "Commander," an officer whispered, his voice cracking. It's scanning us back." The commander's head snapped toward him. "What?" The officer's claws shook as he pointed at the main screen. "Look, data streams, our memory banks, our engines, our fleet positions, it's all being read." And it was true. The human ship had reached into their systems like a hand through water. It pulled everything apart, learning not just their ship's design, but their entire dominion. Every weapon schematic, every secret base, every supply route, it was all flooding into the warship. "Shut it down," the commander roared. "Block it. Fight it." But their systems ignored them. Consoles refused commands, engines froze, weapons went cold. Their mighty vessel, once a symbol of Xylar pride, was now nothing more than an open book for the humans to read. The crew tried desperately, claws tapping on controls, voices rising in panic. Yet nothing changed. Every time they resisted, the warship seemed to push deeper, almost mocking their attempts. Then came something worse. The Xylar realized the ship was not only reading their machines, it was reading them. Soldiers fell to their knees, clutching their heads. Memories flickered in their minds, pulled forward against their will. One saw the face of his hatchmate, the brother he had betrayed for rank. Another saw the burning colony he had once fled, leaving his own kin behind. Each shameful moment, each hidden sin was dragged to the surface, and then the warship showed it to them. Across the bridge, consoles lit up with their personal memories, projected for all to see. Private thoughts, fears, ambitions, all laid bare. The crew cried out, some in anger, others in humiliation. For the first time, they were stripped not by force of arms, but by the cruel light of truth. The commander tried to hold firm. His claws dug into the railing until sparks flew. "It's just a machine," he shouted, though even his voice trembled. "It cannot break us." But the warship's voice came again, calm and steady, with the weight of something far older than metal. "You believe yourselves predators. Yet even the strongest predator bleeds. I see your fears. I see your pride. I see your dominion built on chains." The words echoed inside their skulls, shaking the very core of who they were. The Xylar had never been spoken to this way. Enemies usually begged, victims cried. But this voice, this presence, looked at them like they were nothing more than children playing with stolen knives. The commander's golden eyes burned with rage, but deep inside, that fire was crumbling. He had lived his life as a conqueror, yet in this moment he felt conquered without a single shot fired. Silence fell over the bridge. Only the hum of failing consoles and the slow, steady pulse of the warship's glowing lights filled the void. And then the Xylar understood. This was not just a ship. This was not just human technology. This was something greater. A vessel that carried the weight of an entire species' history. A people who had suffered, fought, endured, and built weapons not to enslave, but to survive. And survival, the Xylar realized with a shiver, was a far stronger weapon than fear. The Xylar ship was silent except for the broken hum of failing consoles. The crew sat stiff, their scales glistening with cold sweat. Their claws trembled against metal controls that no longer obeyed them. For the first time in their lives, they were powerless inside their own ship. And then, without warning, light shimmered in the center of their bridge. At first it was faint, a flicker like static. Then it grew, forming into a figure. The Xylar crew gasped, their golden eyes widening. Before them stood not an alien, not a monster, but a human. The figure was tall, dressed in the dark uniform of an admiral. His face was marked by deep lines, his hair silvered with age. A long scar ran from his brow down to his cheek, a reminder of battles past. But his eyes were what silenced even the proudest Xylar. They were cold, steady, and filled with something stronger than fire. They were filled with memory. The commander of the Xylar ship rose slowly to his feet. His voice cracked with disbelief. What are you?" The human hologram tilted its head slightly, as though studying them. When it spoke, the voice was calm but heavy, like the weight of mountains pressing against their chests. "You scanned us," the admiral said. "That was your mistake." The Xylar commander's jaw tightened. He was used to being the one who gave warnings, not the one who received them. Yet he could not stop the chill that spread through him. His crew shifted uneasily, their scales clicking against armor as they avoided the human's gaze. The admiral's voice grew sharper. "We are humanity. We do not seek conquest. We do not hunger for chains. But when others pry into our strength, when they hunger for our destruction, we remind them of consequences." The Xylar commander tried to summon his pride. He straightened his back, forcing a sneer onto his face. "We are the Dominion," he said, though the words shook. "We fear no one. You are just one ship. One shadow. You cannot hold us." The hologram's scarred face did not change. His cold eyes bore into the commander, stripping away his mask of arrogance. Then he raised one hand slightly as though commanding the ship itself, and instantly every system on the Xylar vessel went dark. Engines stopped humming. Weapons froze. Lights blinked out, leaving only the pale glow of the hologram standing in the center. The Xylar crew gasped in terror. Some clawed at their consoles, trying desperately to bring life back to their ship, but nothing worked. They were trapped, caged by a single silent warship. The commander's voice broke into a roar. "What are you doing to us?" The hologram's tone never rose. It didn't need to. Calmly, almost gently, the admiral replied, "We are showing you mercy." The words sank into the crew like daggers. Mercy. They, the Xylar, who had enslaved worlds and crushed empires, were being shown mercy. The admiral's gaze swept across them, and for a moment the Xylar saw something behind the coldness. Not hatred, not cruelty, but sorrow, the weight of someone who had seen too many wars, who had buried too many dead. "You think strength is domination?" the hologram continued. "You think fear will hold the galaxy, but strength is not chains. Strength is surviving every storm, every fire, every battle. That is what we are. That is humanity." The crew said nothing. Even the proud commander lowered his eyes, unable to meet the weight of that truth. The admiral's image flickered once as though it was about to fade, but before it did, his final words cut through the silence of the bridge like a blade. "Leave us alone, or you will learn what it means to awaken all of us." And then the figure was gone. The bridge fell into silence, filled only with the crew's ragged breaths. Their ship remained frozen, their spirits shattered. The Xylar had been warned. The Xylar crew sat frozen in silence, their eyes wide, their claws shaking against cold metal. The human admiral's hologram had vanished, but his words lingered like a heavy shadow over the bridge. Mercy, he had called it. But the Xylar had never been shown mercy before, and the weight of it felt heavier than any punishment. Then, without warning, the consoles around them flickered again. Streams of light filled the air, forming not another hologram, but visions. Images, sharp and clear, projected themselves across every surface of the bridge. The Xylar gasped as their eyes were forced to watch. They saw Earth, blue oceans, vast forests, towering cities shining like stars of their own. They saw people, humans, walking, laughing, living under skies filled with hope. But then the images shifted, darkened, and the Xylar saw the truth. They saw war. Explosions tore through fields, cities turned to rubble, skies filled with fire, humans fighting humans, brother against brother, civilizations burning in endless struggle. They saw weapons unleashed with fury, machines of death crawling across landscapes, They saw a history not of peace but of endless survival through blood and fire. One officer whimpered, clutching his chest as if the visions cut into him. Why? Why are they showing us this? The images changed again. The Xylar now saw great fleets rising from the ashes of ruined worlds. Ships built not only with steel but with desperation. Humans gathering together, not to conquer others but to defend themselves from being erased. Again and again the visions showed humanity on the brink of extinction, and again they clawed their way back. The warship's voice returned, echoing cold and steady through their minds. This is what we are, a people who bleed, who suffer, but who never fall. You scanned us to find weakness, but weakness is not what you will find. The commander growled, trying to resist the fear clawing at his chest. You think showing us your pain will frighten us? We are the Dominion. We do not weep for the past. But even as he spoke, his voice trembled, because what he saw in those visions was not weakness at all. It was endurance. It was defiance. It was something he did not understand, something the Xylar had never faced before. The visions grew sharper, faster. The Xylar crew cried out as more scenes poured into their minds. Battles where humans stood hopelessly outnumbered and still fought to the last breath. Soldiers charging into fire with nothing but courage. Families rebuilding cities from rubble. Children laughing under skies still scarred with smoke. And then, the final vision came. A fleet. A vast armada, greater than anything the Xylar had ever imagined. Ships stretched across the stars, each one carrying the same fierce spirit, the same unbreakable will. At the center of it stood a colossal warship, its hull glowing with lines of fire, its very presence shaking the stars. The Xylar fell to their knees, their pride crumbling. The voice spoke again, softer now, but filled with power. This is what you face. We do not conquer, we do not enslave, but when others reach for our throats, when they hunger for our destruction, we rise, we fight, we endure, and we do not forget. The commander's golden eyes were wide with shock. His claws, once steady with arrogance, now shook violently. He tried to speak, but no words came. For the first time in his life, he had no answer. Around him, his crew whimpered and shook, their spirits shattered by the truth they had been forced to see. The Dominion had always believed that fear was the strongest weapon, but now they understood. Humanity's strength was not in fear, but in memory, in scars carried proudly, in the fire of survival. The visions faded, leaving only silence and darkness.